Good evening and welcome to the Madhouse UK podcast. I'm Steve Tierney. Okay, got a few things to go through tonight, and I've got my usual list here which I'm going to kind of work my way through and see how we go. I've made some changes. One of the things I've done is moved where I put the list on the screen so it shouldn't look like I'm constantly looking down like this, which is something that a few players have said I always look like I'm looking down. Let's see if this solves it. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Okay, first thing I want to talk about is the NVE program. So the NVE program is our Nexus Viewer Engine, and it's called that because the main bit of software that we use to run all our games, but really it's just Dungeonworld now, is called Nexus. It has always historically been called that. And when we first started running the game, of course, people played by post, and they sent and received their moves by post. As time changed, everybody moved from there to the internet, and the method of sending and receiving turns became PDFs to receive your turn, and then you'd log onto a website and type in your orders to send your turn. And so most people just basically play the game by looking at a PDF report, and that can be a big old report actually, because it has all the maps for all your characters and all the items they've got, all their equipment, it's got a description of all the moves that they made, so you can see it unfold like a story. You can see everything else around you, everything you need to decide what moves to make next. And so it's worked pretty well for a long time, but we did then develop this bit of software, the NVE, and the purpose of that was to take out the PDF aspect. You still got one, but you didn't really need it. Instead, you did all your playing through this piece of software, and it showed you colour maps, and the colour maps grew as you explored. They added to one another, so you didn't have that old kind of physical bit of sticking bits of paper into a pad. And it kept all the things you discover, like your item descriptions and your spell descriptions and your monster information. And then it made it easy for you to submit orders, because you could write your orders using the software, lots of keyboard shortcuts and quick ways to write orders. And when you were ready, you click submit, and the turn writes straight online to our server. So you know that you haven't got your character ID wrong, which would cause your orders to fail. Nothing like that. Basically, you're pretty confident that your turn's got in, everything's going to go well. And the NVE's been popular for a number of years, but the trouble is it's getting on a bit now, and it was written on several versions of Windows back, and it struggles to work on the most recent versions of Windows, compatibility issues, and some people have a bit of trouble getting it to work. It still does, but it's sort of getting to the end of its time, and so we had to work on a new one. And we've recently started that, and we've got a secret Facebook group where volunteers get signed up and help us to do it. And if you're a player of the game and you've used the previous NVE or just fancy being part of the development of the new one, we would welcome more volunteers to join us. At this point, we're just talking hypothetically about what it's going to be, because it's not a physical bit of software to look at yet. But we're not far off, and soon there'll be something to actually look at as the development proceeds. So it's quite exciting, and we would welcome more people to get involved. If you want to do that, just let me know by emailing me at contact@madcentral.com. That's contact@madcentral.com. Okay, next thing was a player emailed me, and I thought this was an interesting question and one that was worth talking about on the podcast. The player wanted to know why they missed their orders. They missed the turn. For one reason or another, they failed to get orders in. And during the missed turn, a dragon found them, attacked them all the way through the turn, and killed them. And they said, they were a bit unhappy with it. And the reason they were unhappy is because they hadn't got any reply attacks. Now, they weren't moaning about being attacked, because if you don't submit orders, everybody who plays the game knows the game carries on around you. Monsters still move, other characters still move, and you will be affected by that. And that wasn't the problem. The problem was that normally, every time you get hit, you get a hit back, which is called a reply attack. And this player, our character, had died without having a single hit back, just been pounded on by this. The dragon had just basically breathed on him and toasted him for the whole turn until he was dead. So he said, why didn't I get any reply attacks? If I had got a reply attack, that might have been that I would have managed to kill the dragon, and it wouldn't have done the final attacks that finished me off, because he kind of died at the end of the turn. It took the dragon the whole turn to finish it. That seemed like a fair comment to me, so I had a look at it, but it wasn't a bug or anything like that. What had actually happened, and this is the bit I think is interesting to people who are playing the game and perhaps don't know this, is this dragon had a breath weapon which had a range of 5 or 6 or something like that, which means that they could strike you from 6 squares away with this long flowing breath weapon. The player's character just had a melee weapon that had a range of 2, which is the same square or adjacent. So what the dragon did, intelligent monster, made a perfectly good decision, is it approached just close enough to use its breath weapon, but not so close that the character could attack back. And so there he stood for the whole turn, getting smashed to pieces. And rest in peace, really. So that's what happened. But he could have got around it. If he'd been able to submit orders, the way you would get around it is you would write what's called a move and attack order, which is a generic M. And what that means is move towards the nearest monster or the monster that's attacking me and attack it. Move forwards towards it until I'm close enough and just give it a hit, you know. And that works even if the monster's running away, which some of them do. You will chase it down because your orders say chase it until I'm close enough and hit it. It's a good generic order to use if you're not sure what's going to happen. So that's how you handle it if you submitted orders, but sadly this player missed the turn and didn't get any in. Okay, so what else? I had a long chat with the Madhouse USA GM, Kerry Harrison, today on the phone, and that was great because Kerry recently took over the game. As you know, you may or may not know, but previously it was run by Flying Buffalo and Rick Loomis. Rick is not very well, sadly, at the moment, and so he's had to give up running the game, and Kerry took over. Kerry has run the game many years ago in the past, and so I know Kerry, and he knows how to run the game, and that's great, and it's really interesting that he's got back involved again. But what I enjoy is the ability to have a chat with another GM about what's going on, because I'm always talking to players, but you can't tell players everything, because some of it's a secret, and some of it, part of the fun is surprise of what's going to happen. So it's really great to have someone that you can just confide in and chat to stuff about. And I think Kerry's got some great ideas for growing the game in the USA, which is good, because I think now's the time to do it. There's definitely a feeling of a resurgence of the whole turn-based gaming PvEM hobby. I don't know whether it's that players have got a bit tired of the bells and whistles of modern games and prefer something with a bit of depth and a different style of play. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's some other change in the culture. I don't know. But there's definitely growth. We're seeing the hobby begin to resurge. We're seeing people interested again. And I think that's quite exciting. So now's the time for a new GM in the States, like Kerry is, to help me grow this game worldwide, bigger than it's ever been. Another group of people that are trying to do the same thing are playbymail.net, and I very, very much recommend that you go and find the playbymail.net Facebook page, because what they're doing is they are promoting the hobby, the hobby as it stands, and the future of the hobby, but also talking about things that happened in the past, and it's a lot of fun. If you've been in the hobby before and are thinking of coming back or are still in the hobby, you'll remember a lot of these old things that are talking about the old situations of the companies and the games, and it's fun to reminisce. But also, they're talking about the new things that are coming and the new companies that are appearing. And I was surprised. I was surprised by how many people are still involved in the hobby, how many companies are still running games. There's definitely been a feeling for a few years like we were almost the only one left. There were very few left. But that's not true. It's patently clear that there's actually quite a lot of companies still delivering the old-fashioned PvEM turn-based games out there. I just think that's brilliant. So I really recommend, if you're a player, if you're interested in this hobby, go sign up for that page as well, and follow what they're doing and join some other games, because the hobby's got a big future, I think. It seemed for a long time like maybe it had its day, but I don't believe that's the case. Things are changing. Anyway, that's pretty much everything for now. The next podcast will be a long promised one about the design of a dungeon on behalf of Paul Malone and his guild, as set out by the American player who designed it, and I'll be talking about how I changed that into the reality of the game. I think it'll be a fun podcast. That's the next one I'm going to do. But until then, have a great evening. Don't forget to like this post. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast series, and do not forget to ring that magic bell. Thank you very much. Laters.